Lowe's knows that no matter your paint project, saving is at the top of your list. That's why when you shop today, you can buy one, get one free select Valspar and HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams one-coat coverage interior paints via rebate. Shop these deals in-store or online today at Lowe's. We help, you save. Rebate in form of Visa gift card equal to 100% off the second eligible item purchased before or after applicable discounts, if any. See details. Offer ends 7/9.
When we started writing our thoughts down on paper, it opened up endless possibilities. Ideas could grow beyond the borders of the mind, and it changed the world. Somewhere along the way, we lost touch with paper, distracted by devices made for every purpose except for thinking and focus. On edge, waiting for the next notification. But what if new technology didn't pull us away from paper, but brought us closer to it? Listen. That's not paper. It's the sound of the new Remarkable Paper Pro, rewriting the future. A paper tablet with a true color ink display, gentle reading light, and unheard of tactility. With digital features for taking notes, thinking, and organizing, without any distractions. Paper is about to change the world again. Get your paper tablet at remarkable.com today.
He is a former United States Navy SEAL, a former CIA operative, and a former United States Marshal. He's had a very storied and significant career that he says was caused by something that many of us experienced in our childhood.
Welcome to the Law Enforcement Talk Radio Show. In the Law Enforcement Talk Radio Show, we are joined by special guests talking about their experiences, the realities of investigating crimes, plus those who have experienced horrendous trauma. Police, first responders, military, and victims of crime share their stories. Hi, I'm John J. Wiley. In addition to being a broadcaster, I'm also a retired police sergeant. Be sure to check out our website, letradio.com, and also like us on Facebook. Search for the Law Enforcement Talk Radio Show. Of all the radio stations in the United States, there are no other shows like the Law Enforcement Talk Radio Show. And on Facebook, there's only one official page. Do a search on Facebook for the Law Enforcement Talk Radio Show, and be sure to like the Law Enforcement Talk Radio Show Facebook page. Joining us on the Law Enforcement Talk Radio Show, we have Rodney Magallan. Rodney is contacting us from Texas, and he's got a great story. A little bit about Rodney, just so you know, he is a retired United States Navy SEAL officer. He is a former CIA operative. He's also a former U.S. Marshal. He's written a book called Tip of the Spear Is Not What You Think. His website is tipofthespearbook.com. And Rodney, thanks so much for calling us and being on the show, and for your service. All very much appreciated.
John, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here, Rodney. And we're going to get into your story a little bit, but I want to talk about, number one, just so people know, Rodney's going to be talking about some things that a lot of us experienced. I did not experience in my childhood, but a lot of people did. And how it motivates him to what he did in his life and what he does about it today. I'll just give you a little tip. And it can be a little bit dark. It can be a little bit tough. So we're not ashamed of tough conversations. We have a lot of them here on this show. You were in the United States Navy, and you went in as an enlisted man, and you did something that's very rare. You went through what we called, my dad's career in Navy, what we called Mustang, where you became an officer. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
And I was watching a video the other day, Rodney, and it was a United States Navy SEAL retired, and he talked about so many of the Navy SEALs come in to the Navy, and it's about a 2-year whole training thing to get into SEAL training and to become a SEAL. But a lot of them come in as enlisted men, even though they're qualified to be officers, because there's so few officers. It's not easy to become a Navy SEAL, number one, and it's even harder to become a Navy SEAL officer, isn't it?
It is. That's correct. And
were you stationed in, I grew up in Norfolk, Virginia, most of my childhood, Norfolk, Virginia Beach, and we had Little Creek on the East Coast. That's where Navy SEAL Team 6 and a few other ones were deployed. Is that where you were at?
I was stationed at Little Creek. SEAL Team 4 was my first command. Yes.
That's a long time ago, wasn't it?
It was 1987 is when I showed up to SEAL Team 4. And back then, each command, each team actually took care of their own STT. So after BUDS and jump school, you went to your team because we were regionalized, and Team 4 was hyper-focused on jungle warfare. Team 2 was hyper-focused on winter warfare. There was no Team 8 at that time. So yes, the 2-year training track, it was still there, but not as formalized as it is now, where all of it is conducted on Coronado, where you finish BUDS, and then the BUDS graduates follow on to jump school, and then they go back to Coronado for STT, or they may go to jump school after STT. But that is the significant difference back then. And not only that, but when you left a command, like if I left SEAL Team 4 and I went to SEAL Team 2, I went through their training again. I went through their regionalized training to learn that winter warfare specific mission set. And my recollection is that's where that whole earn your trident every day comes from, because it doesn't stop. There was people from the West Coast that were going through STT with me as a new guy at Team 4 that already had their tridents because it was you're learning new skills.
And one of the things that you and I talked about is I'm in my late 60s now, and we watch some of these things on television about BUDS and the training was required. And I looked at my wife and said, Stephanie, so I call her the boss, that even when I was in shape, the best shape of my life, in my early 20s, there's no way I could undergo and withstand what they did in BUDS training. And I don't think a lot of people get credit for just passing that. Yeah,
John, that's a great point, and one that I think is definitely echoed. It's your mindset. I started BUDS. I weighed 150 pounds, soaking wet. Grew up in Farmville, Washington State, as a migrant worker, and I never swam in the ocean, never shot a gun. Didn't even know what a SEAL was, but I wasn't going to quit. And there was folks. I tell one of the stories on a different podcast of this gymnast who he was a Division I gymnast, started our class. The guy was just a stud. But get him cold and wet, and he didn't make it past pre-training. He was done. Back then, pre-training was the first 2 weeks you couldn't quit, and they just ran you ragged. And then after that 2 weeks, they gave the option who wanted to continue the program and who wanted to quit. And I was actually shocked when I saw him raise his hand that he didn't want any more of it. But again, going back to it's a mentality. I'm not going to quit, and I'm going to make it through. And I may stumble, and I stumbled a lot, but I'm just going to keep going after it. I put on 25 pounds of muscle in that program.
That's a huge amount, going from 150 to 175. You were jacked.
They get you in shape. They will get you in shape for sure. Yeah.
Here's the thing and speaking of shape, there's a lot of really muscular guys, and we think that United States Navy SEALs, they're tough, they're rugged, they're physical. All those things are true. What we don't really talk about is the mental, the mindset thing, and the skill sets that they possess. But, and I got to ask this in a form of a question, a lot of these really muscular guys, they don't seem to really hang in the BUDS training, and they wash out.
So today's specimen, today's trainees, they have spent so much time and money, and they're getting them into better shape. They're getting them stronger before they even start the program. The big guys, yeah, I mean that's a lot of fuel. That's a lot of muscle. That's a lot of weight to carry around, and it's not easy. It's a lot of stress on the joints, stress on the bones, and having that boat on your head, and then that extra weight that you're carrying with that bulk. I'm not saying that they don't fair as well, because like I said, today's specimens, they definitely look a lot bigger and stronger than my class when we went through. But yeah, it's a machine that needs to be fed when you have all that muscle, and a lot of times you don't know when you're going to get your next meal.
One of the things that we'll return this conversation with Rodney in a moment, but a casual thing, I'm referring back to this video I watched, and he talked about a lot of the United States Navy SEALs, and he's retired. He's still a relatively young guy, probably in his 40s, but he talked about a lot of these guys have language skill sets. A lot of these guys have college degrees, multiple college degrees. They have masters. They're not slouches. They really have lots of options. So there's got to be something, and I know in your case, which we'll talk about in a few moments after break, there are some things that motivate people to become United States Navy SEALs. Was there something you discussed that it's not something just people fall into, is it?
So I'm probably the anomaly, John Jay. I actually joined the Navy to be a doctor. I talk about it in my book, Tip of the Spear, It's Not What You Think. And when I found out that the academy was not my future and I was stuck in the Navy for 3 years, that's when I read about the UDT SEAL program.
That's when you decided, I'm going to go a little further. We'll take a short break. Return to our conversation with Rodney Magallan in just a few moments. This is Law Enforcement Talk Radio Show. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. You know, we used to have an app, and it was a very popular app. And then, guess what? We couldn't hold a candle to our Facebook presence. How many people have the mobile Facebook app already installed on their phone? How many people use it on their computer? Make sure you follow us. Make sure you like us on our Facebook page. Just search for Law Enforcement Talk Radio Show and Podcast, and be sure to send us a comment to one of the posts. Best of all, it's 100% free.
Coverage varies by plan. View contracts and exclusions at endurancewarranty.com.
If you're driving a car or truck with an expired warranty and suddenly lost your transmission or needed a full engine repair, would a $4,000 repair bill leave you stranded? I'm Danica Patrick. Don't get caught off guard with a vehicle breakdown. Choose the company I trust, Endurance. No matter the mileage, if your vehicle is less than 20 years old, Endurance offers comprehensive auto protection plans for any budget. Protection on the drivetrain, electrical, transmission, AC, and more. Plus, benefits like 24/7 roadside assistance and rental car reimbursement on any plan. Endurance handles everything, from making the claim, through the repair process, to paying the certified mechanic of your choice. Don't get caught off guard with a vehicle breakdown. Act now and get 1 full year of elite benefits. A $2,000 value, free.
Visit EnduranceWarranty.com for your fast free quote today. That's EnduranceWarranty.com.
Return our conversation with Rodney Magallan on the Law Enforcement Talk Radio Show. Rodney is a retired United States Navy SEAL. He is a former CIA operative. He is a former United States Marshal. He's author of the book, Tip of the Spear, It's Not What You Think. His website is tipofthespearbook.com. For me to break, Rodney, you're talking about you're one of those anomalies. You didn't set your mind out to become a Navy SEAL. You kind of fell into it, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I started looking at the extra pays. I'm probably going to get in a lot of trouble from my friends reaching out and admitting this, but it was those extra pays that drove me. I knew that I'm stuck for 3 years. My mom needed the money. I was still sending most of my check home to her. And the whole reason I went into the military in the first place was to get my mom and myself and my family out of poverty. And I saw that as a way to do it. So yeah, for me, there was no options of quitting. I was going to make it. I had a lot of people that didn't think I would, and I had a few that did think that I would. In either case, it motivated me positively. But now I didn't stay because of the money, for sure. And that's that. I want to make that clear.
There's not a lot of money in the United States military. There's just not.
It's not. Back then it was significant for me coming in as an E1, and getting those extra pays. But like I said, staying in and staying with the community for 35 and a half years, it was not because of the money. It was kind of what you were saying as far as, what drives us, that sense of service, being with an organization that we know we're going to be making a difference. Small unit, that everyone has to pull their weight. Everyone has to paddle to get us to where we're going.
And it's not uncommon. I love this film called Band of Brothers, and I started watching it again with my wife. And there's a line in there where their interviewer guy says they asked for volunteers for this branch of service, and he was in the Army, of course. And they said we're taking volunteers for airborne, and they never heard of it at that time. It was a new concept, and their work jumping out of perfectly good airplanes. They said no. It pays $50 a month more than what you. So that turned their pay into $100 a month. And like, okay, you got my attention now. So yeah, I get it. But somewhere along the line, Rodney, you had to challenge yourself and say it's such a mindset thing. Look, the physical thing, even when it was the best shape of my life, I couldn't handle the running. I'll just be honest with you. But the cold water and all that stuff and the people yelling at me, I don't think I could do that. I'm sure there had to be a time in your mind when you're going through there, you say, look, I'm not going to quit, and here's the reasons why.
Absolutely. The yelling didn't bother me so much. I know we're going to get into it later because growing up, that's all I.
You can start talking about it now. Look,
okay.
That's part of your story. That's what makes your journey unique. And here's the thing I'm sure you get, Rodney. You're not the only one.
Right. No, absolutely. Violent home. Back then, growing up back then, it wasn't uncommon to hit your children. We still got paddled in school. So in my mind, it was, okay, this is the norm. When you're getting disciplined, you get spanked. I was one of the younger children of 7. And so I saw a lot of the violence. My father on my mother, my brothers going after each other, and then the way we got disciplined. But when my parents split up, it was just us 3 little kids back at the house. I think I was 10 or 11, and then that's when the verbal lashings just started. There was no praise or anything positive that came out of my mother's mouth towards me, so going through buds and getting yelled at and being told what they were telling me, that didn't bother me. It really didn't, because when I grow up from hearing it from the person who's supposed to love you the most, then I just got callous to it. It was just words, right? It's just words.
Yeah,
and
I
again,
get that. It becomes like water rolling in the back of a duck. I get that, but here's what a lot of people don't get. And in your case, those kind of scars just don't go away, and they motivate a lot of our behavior. And we have a choice somewhere in our journey of I'm going to do really good things or I'm going to do really bad things, but you're going to notice me.
Absolutely, and I love that you use scars as an analogy, because what is a scar if it isn't tougher skin?
Right.
So I was going to prove everyone who thought I wouldn't amount to anything wrong, and I was going to prove the people who believed in me right, and there was just get my head down and start grinding it out. It's been done. That's the other thing that I kept telling myself. Even when I would get close to wanting to quit, I would always tell myself, it's been done. I'd look at that same instructor who's giving me the hard time and say, if this guy made it, I can make it.
That's true.
It's doable.
Right. It's doable. Yeah. And what's the old saying that if it's got a name, it's been done by someone else, and probably better. Let's be honest.
Yeah, right.
But
true.
That doesn't, I can only go to my experience. When I think of where I've accomplished, that doesn't usually stay with me very long. I think of the goals I still yet to accomplish, but there's a part of me, I don't want to say it's vindictive or vengeful. Maybe it's a case for you. But when people say, "Oh, you never amount to anything," and say, "Well, look, I've got a radio show now; it's on 100 and some odd stations. I've got a podcast that's the top 1/10% ranked show worldwide. Social media is doing great, and this is from a guy who barely passed high school math. Barely."
Yeah. No, John, you're absolutely right. It's that motivation helped me get through BUDS. That motivation helped me get to SEAL Team 6. But what kept me in and what kept me going was that sense of service, because there comes a time where you just stop listening to the noise, because what else do you have to prove to someone? And the sense of service takes over. And now I see that I can affect people positively, either through my actions or through my guidance, or through some mentoring in my words, is not being a repeat of the negative influences that I saw, even though they motivated me, but being more of that lead by example. Oh, and by the way, here's some advice from someone who's been in your shoes.
Yeah, look, I get it. And when we return, we're going to talk about Rodney's journey, because it's admirable, and no pun intended, to make it from the ranks of the enlisted man. And I grew up in Norfolk, Virginia. My dad was career Navy. I never served in the military. I should have. Have I known, I'd have gone in the Navy and did 3 or 4 years where I was not under my parents' thumb and being a pain, you know what. But there was a time where they have financing at used car places, E3 and up, we finance. And there was times when my childhood where they still had signs said, Navy not welcome here. And that was prominent in United States of America in the let's say late 1900s. It is not ancient history. This is the Law Enforcement Talk Radio Show. When we return, we're going to talk about Rodney's journey from childhood to enlisted man to officer into CIA operative and U.S. Marshal, and writing his book called Tip of the Spear. It's not what you think. Website is tipofthespearbook.com. This is the Law Enforcement Talk Radio Show. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back. I know we've all got lots of apps on our phone, but there's one you should check out, the Medium app, medium.com. And be sure to follow the Law Enforcement Talk Radio Show and podcast, where you find great articles and blog posts from me on Medium. That's the Law Enforcement Talk Radio Show and podcast on the Medium app, or you can go directly to medium.com.
When we started writing our thoughts down on paper, it opened up endless possibilities. Ideas could grow beyond the borders of the mind, and it changed the world. Somewhere along the way, we lost touch with paper, distracted by devices made for every purpose except for thinking and focus. On edge, waiting for the next notification. But what if new technology didn't pull us away from paper, but brought us closer to it? Listen. That's not paper. It's the sound of the new Remarkable Paper Pro, rewriting the future. A paper tablet with a true color ink display, gentle reading light, and unheard of tactility. With digital features for taking notes, thinking, and organizing, without any distractions. Paper is about to change the world again. Get your paper tablet at remarkable.com today.
4th of July deals are on at Lowe's. Right now, get up to 40% off select major appliances, including the Samsung Bespoke French Door Refrigerator featuring beverage center and dual ice maker. Plus, when you buy more, you save more. Now's the perfect time to upgrade your home with top Samsung appliances and hot 4th of July savings at Lowe's. Valid through 7/9. See Lowe's.com for details. Savings vary based on purchase amount. Selection varies by location.
Return our conversation with Rodney Magallan on the Law Enforcement Talk Radio Show. Rodney is a retired United States Navy SEAL. He is also a former CIA operative, which is fascinating. Those two combined. Oh, but there's more. He's a former United States Marshal, which is no small walk in the park. He's author of the book, Tip of the Spear is Not What You Think. And his website is tipofthespearbook.com. I usually make a smart remark right around this time. It's like, is there anything you don't do, Rodney? But I'm going to leave that alone, because if you're like me, and something tells me you are, different reasons, but what I don't do well with is a lot of quiet time, a lot of time where I can think, because my mind tends to go to places I don't want it to go. So I stay preoccupied and busy. Is that a good explanation for you?
That is a good explanation. As a matter of fact, that's what actually drove me to write the book. So In 2020, I was forced to leave my family and geographical bachelor, geo-batch, out to San Diego. And my son was going into his senior year of high school, and that's why they stayed back where they were. And so that pretty much was the end of my Navy career because my wife said she's had enough. And so I'm tracking for captain. I'm an 05. I'm a commander at this point. I had a really good shot at promoting to captain, but my wife pretty much said she was done. She was done following me around. I could stay in if I want. And I looked at it as like, no, I'm not going to live without my family, so it's time to retire. So now I'm retired September of 21, and I'm looking at myself and my wife, and it's like, what's my purpose? I'm only 53 years old. Sure, I've done some things, but I still felt way too young and still too sharp in my mind to not share. And it wasn't about I needed to go downrange and kick in doors or I needed to be in harm's way. It was really, I was at that point now where I am affecting sailors and young adults positively. And so I started writing. I was going crazy. I really was. I was getting depressed. I was going crazy. I got to do something. And I started writing. And that was the beginning of the book, Tip of the Spear, It's Not What You Think. And it really is talking about my childhood when I was a migrant worker and single mom on welfare, paying taxes at age 14 to retiring as a commander from the SEAL teams.
For those who don't know, to make that kind of rank in the SEALs is not easy. Most of the SEALs I knew that were officers or became officers, they made it to lieutenant commander, maybe commander. They never made it to captain. It wasn't an issue. This just wasn't a type of billet where they got a lot of promotion. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. And I did not make captain. I did not promote to captain.
Just the fact you were considered was close. I mean, that's a major accomplishment in that line of work.
You have to do the up checks. You got to do the jobs, and you got to do them. You got to do them well. You can't just sit in the seat. You actually have to do a good job in the jobs. They want to see you leading. They want to see you in charge of a command. And you could be a staff officer, but if you never take the charge of command, then it's going to be hard for you to promote to that 06 rank.
The other thing too is look, one of the best things that happened to me was being promoted to sergeant in the Baltimore Police Department. One of the worst things that happened to me was being promoted to sergeant in the Baltimore Police Department because my role changed dramatically. I still felt like a street cop. I still did all that adrenaline stuff was still going on. I wanted to train. I really wanted to teach people how to overcome adversity, to be the type of cop that we wanted them to be. All that stuff. But the management part was just nonstop.
It's challenging. There's no doubt. A lot of sayings that we say, right? 90% of your time is spent on 10% of your people.
And it's usually the ones causing the biggest problems, and it's usually off-duty stuff. It's not their job. When they're getting in trouble, it's doing stuff they did off-duty.
It is, and I kind of hit on it in the book when I talk about taking care of people. A lot of folks would think that sweeping things under the rug is taking care of people, but if they don't change their behavior, you're not helping them at all.
No, it's just allowing them to repeat the same behavior. It causes a lot of suffering, not just for them, but for those who depend on them as well. You talked about it.
Absolutely.
Our family members, our children, our spouses, they're the ones who take the brunt of punishment of our behavior.
That's so true. And that's part of the things that again that I highlight in the book is all that support network. That tip of the spear gets nowhere without the shaft, and needing that family, the friends, the extended family, the trainers, all the people that help you get to that tip. Understanding that even though you may feel alone at the tip, because when you look to your left and your right, there's not a lot of folks there, but they're all behind you. They're all behind you, supporting you. And you're right, it does affect them the most.
When you talk about tip of the spear, it's not what you think. And when we think of tip of the spear, when I think of tip of the spear, I tend to think, when it comes to the United States military, I think of special forces. I think of the guys that go in and do the grunt work, that put their lives on the line. But there's a lot more to it than that.
There is. You're correct in thinking that tip of the spear. And that's more of the positional piece of tip of the spear. But what I also talk about is the mindset. It's like, okay, yeah, these special forces guys, yeah, they're elite, but why can't I be elite at what I do? And it could be as simple as I'm a bartender or I'm a bus driver. It doesn't matter. I could still be elite at that. It's a mindset. It's not just a position. It's a mindset, 100%.
Not everybody can do what you did. Not everybody can be a Navy SEAL. But here's, we're both male, obviously. One of the things, and the decision, so I'm on my second marriage. I will do anything to make sure this marriage is good. But I tell people this all the time, Rodney, and maybe you can elaborate on this. Falling in love for me was easy. It was something I didn't really have a choice in. Staying in love is a decision. If we're going to be good at something, why can't you be good at that? Why can't you be an elite father, elite husband, elite spouse?
John Jay, it sounds like you read my book. That's exactly some of the points that I make. And to your comment earlier, we don't need everyone to be SEALs. We don't. We need everyone to be the best at what they do because that's what drives our country. I would not be who I am if we didn't have the economy that we had. And I've been to 52 countries, and I've worked with other countries trying to get them to stand up or make their special forces more robust. And the comments are always the same. We can't afford it. We can't afford it. We don't have it. Our economy can't afford it. So let's not lose sight of that. Is I need people to be the best at what they do. I don't need them to be SEALs. I don't need them. We have enough people trying to be that.
I'm glad you brought that up. That reminds me of being a sergeant in the Baltimore Police Department. And what I wanted when I first got promoted was I wanted a squad of guys like me. You know, they went in. When I say guys, it's men and women. It's not a gender-specific term. As much as people want to make it out to be, that's what we called each other, guys. But I wanted people that were very aggressive, very proactive, that were a lot of integrity. And then I realized, man, you can't have a squad of 13 people just like you. Because you'd be writing every day, every minute, every day, either commendations or chewing them out or doing something. You needed to have the pencil pushers. You needed to have the report takers. You needed to have the guys who were really good at traffic. You needed to have a balance of people.
So true. And like the spear, the tip of the spear, when you look at the whole of the spear head, the cutting edges, the ridge that supports the tip, the collar that actually fixes it to the shaft, they're all just as important. And it's kind of like what you're saying. We need those people that are good at admin. We need those people that are good at getting us money for equipment. We need those good instructors. And then we need those people that are good on the street. You need that balance. You absolutely do. And understanding that, hey, maybe I'm not the best at this, but I'm pretty damn good over here.
And that's all right. It's okay to be, look, there's a time where I thought I'd be Superman. Look, I'm not God. I'm not Superman. I'm just a guy who did the best I could with what I had.
Absolutely.
And there are times where I coulda, shoulda, woulda. I get lost that even still. We're talking with Rodney Magallan. Rodney is a retired United States Navy SEAL officer. He is also a former CIA operative. He is also a former United States Marshal. And he's authored the book, Tip of the Spear, It's Not What You Think. His website is tipofthespearbook.com. When we return, we're going to talk about trying to outrun past memories and what motivates him to do what he does today. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. You can find us on LinkedIn. Yeah, we have a profile for the show, but my personal profile is the one that's chock full of content. Just do a search on LinkedIn for John J. Wiley. That's JOHN JAYWILEY. Or just go to linkedin.com/in/John, the letter J, Wiley. And be sure to connect.
Someone asked, what's the catch? What's the cost? There is no cost for anything on the Law Enforcement Talk radio show and podcast website, letradio.com. letradio.com. Again, that's letradio.com.
When we started writing our thoughts down on paper, it opened up endless possibilities. Ideas could grow beyond the borders of the mind, and it changed the world. Somewhere along the way, we lost touch with paper, distracted by devices made for every purpose except for thinking and focus. On edge, waiting for the next notification. But what if new technology didn't pull us away from paper, but brought us closer to it? Listen. That's not paper. It's the sound of the new Remarkable Paper Pro, rewriting the future. A paper tablet with a true color ink display, gentle reading light, and unheard of tactility. With digital features for taking notes, thinking, and organizing, without any distractions. Paper is about to change the world again. Get your paper tablet at remarkable.com today.
Return our conversation with Rodney Magallan. He is on the Law Enforcement Talk Radio Show. He is contacting us from Texas. He is a retired United States Navy SEAL officer. He is a former CIA operative. He's also a former United States Marshal. He's author of the book, Tip of the Spear is Not What You Think. And his website is tipofthespearbook.com. And all around, good guy. Great. Something tells me we could talk a lot about a lot of things. Have multiple cups of coffee, and you know what? Rodney, I got to ask you a rather pointed question. We'll get into your book in a moment. We did that before we ended the break. Knowing a little bit about your childhood, you talked about growing up with significant physical abuse from your father. You talked about significant verbal abuse from your mother. Did that have a profound impact on you throughout your early in your Navy SEALs career and all throughout your adulthood life?
I believe it did. Yes, it some vivid memories. I don't have a lot of memories, and I know that's the brain's way of trying to protect you. But the few memories I do have is I'll never forget watching my father be taken away in handcuffs and put in a patrol car, which led me to make sure that I didn't want to be arrested. I wanted to be on the right side of the law. Then my mother, just no pleasing her. It didn't matter what I did. It didn't matter the good grades that I got. It didn't matter the sports that I was in. It didn't matter that I was working 30-plus hours a week, and she got the check from the grocery store. It didn't matter. There was just no pleasing her. That just drove me again to just want to work harder. So some people would say too that when I got to the teams, I was still a child. I was 19 years old when I showed up.
I was a baby at 19. Let's be real.
Yeah. And I'm at SEAL Team 4 when I'm 19 years old. I turned 21 in the jungles of Panama. And so that shaped me as well. I'm around a bunch of guys that made it very clear that I haven't done anything yet that they haven't done already. And so I got to prove myself. So again, it's just being in this environment where fighting, but fighting in a different way, fighting to be the best, fighting to create that reputation, because in the teams, your reputation is everything.
It is. And look, let's be honest with you. I'm not a Navy SEAL. I didn't serve in the United States Navy, but your reputation is the most important thing about you. What we always say is, what is a man without their word?
Absolutely. It's so true. And it's not that hard to achieve, right? Just do what you say. Be accountable. Be present. Work to the best of your abilities. I wasn't the best at everything, but people could count on me because if I said I was going to do something, I was going to try hard to do it.
Let's be honest with you. People say to me all the time, and there's a few posts, they'll say, oh, man, when you're in a fight, do you want a female officer showing up? Yes, I do. Yes, I did. All I care is they grab a hand. And let's be honest. Let's call it like it is. We had a lot of muscle-bound guys that are absolute cowards. They would never show up when things that I didn't care how big you were. It'd be great to have John Wayne or one of those characters come through the doorway when you're in a battle for your life. But reality is you'll take whatever help you can get. So that being dependable is ultra, ultra important to me.
Absolutely, sir. You're spot on. When I was with GRS with the CIA, my eyes were opened even more. And not bashing my team guy brothers, I love them. But I also learned that you don't have to send me your best, just send me your willing, because I can do something with someone who's willing.
Oh, man, you're speaking the same language as me. I can train anything in the world, but I can't train willingness. If you're not willing to do what's required, forget it.
That's it. That's exactly right.
Somewhere along and before we go into your book a little bit more, I got to ask you this question, and I hate to say this, but you've said several times, and it kind of make the alarm bells go off in the back of my head. Do you feel like you're trying, through your adult life, did you ever feel like you were trying to win the approval of your parents?
I felt like I was trying to win the approval of everyone around me. And again, not so much the approval. It almost early on, it was definitely the approval of my mother. My father was absent during those years. He's back in our life now. But then it changed to now I'm representing these folks, and I want to represent them well. So it's I have their approval. I know that. I have great friends. I have a lot of officers who actually told me when I was enlisted that I should consider becoming an officer, and that's what would help me in that path. That I'm still friends with some of them today. That I represent. I am greater than the sum of my parts,
right.
And every single person that approves of me and what I've done, I would let them down if I fail them, if I decided to do something stupid.
Well, there's a lot of self-imposed pressure that we put on ourselves. And look, you're a lot like me in many ways. And there is times, and I may not have thought it consciously, but I had something to prove. And I'm going to prove all those teachers. And I'm going to prove not just my parents, my teachers, whoever they might be, that, yeah, I am somebody, and look at me now. Did you ever get driven that way?
So in the teams, everything's a competition. I'll never forget, I have a real good friend of mine, and we'd have an hour for lunch, and it's like, hey, let's go do a quick 4-mile run. And it'll be a light one. And then we end up finishing
a white 4-mile
run.
That doesn't jive with me.
Yeah, in jungle boots. Yeah, because that's how we ran back then. And we'd get done in 20-some minutes, and I'd look at him and was like, why were you racing? He goes, no, you were racing. You were pushing me. It's just funny how each of us thought the other one was pushing us, and so we just kept going faster, and it never ended up being just a light run. It always ended up being a race. So to your question, what are we proving? We're proving that we're still in the game. We're still it's my TBI now, but that we're still a sizable force,
right?
That we can still operate. And now it's I'm at that point where I'm 57, and you know what? I can't do those 4-mile runs anymore.
Rodney, 57 is very young. So
my body doesn't think so.
Oh yeah. Is part of that mentality what motivates you to write this book?
Absolutely. It absolutely. I may not be as fast or as nimble, but I'm still I'm wise. I'll go ahead and say it. I'm wise. I've experienced a lot of things in a lot of different facets. And so when I give someone advice, it's not just from the SEAL perspective. It's not just from the CIA perspective. I also did corporate security, and I did private security. And then in 2009, I went back active duty as an officer and did deployments as an officer, and then started doing the administrative, the leadership things, the behind the scenes, the understanding authorities and permissions that a lot of folks don't even think about. They don't understand that decisions are made not based off of what we could do mechanically and what may make sense to you, but there's laws and there's authorities and permissions that govern our day-to-day that most people don't even know about.
No. And by the way, for those who grew up in and I don't like this term, abusive families as a child, Rodney's story is the inspiration. You can achieve great things beyond that. I'm sure this came with a lot of work. For those of us who've not gone through that, that's cool too. But here's what I always tell people. You're as an adult, the older you get, you're going to go through some stuff. And if you worked in special forces or military or police or whatever, you're going to go through a lot. And that sometimes I have to remember that not everybody has been through what I've been through, and sometimes my judgment of them can be a little bit harsh. Do you ever find yourself saying, remember, not everybody's been through what you've been through?
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. And I had to change a lot of the way I handled my younger sailors because parents don't parent like they used to parent back in the day. So they haven't been through what we've been through. But just understanding them, that when I do run into the ones that have had a hard go of it, I remind them, it's like, listen, that doesn't define you. Don't define yourself by something that has an expiration date. Right. So being a child has an expiration date. Yeah, it influences my thought process, but it doesn't define me. I define myself. You define yourself, and you can always change that definition. That's the other thing too. We have a lot of folks in the teams that are struggling when they get out because they define themselves as a SEAL. Again, that has an expiration date. You're more than a SEAL.
That's what you did. That's not who you are. By the way, we're out of time.
Exactly.
So the name of the book is Tip of the Spear. It's not what you think. His website is tipofthespearbook.com. That's tipofthespearbook.com. Rodney, thanks for your service, and thanks for being guest on the show. Both very much appreciated.
John Jay, thank you so much for everything, and thanks for your service.
This was a podcast version of the nationally syndicated Law Enforcement Talk radio show, and we are so glad that you decided to join us. Big thanks to our guests for telling their story on the show. 2 simple things you can do. Be sure to check out our website, letradio.com. That's letradio.com. And be sure to follow us or like us on Facebook. Do a search on Facebook for Law Enforcement Talk radio show. And be sure when you see a post that we put up that you like, that you resonate with, that gets your attention, be sure to share it with your friends. We'll be back in just a few days with another great episode of the show. See you then.